need you to understand this point. All the military might in the world, and the thing that brings Fir'aun to his knees is the fact that a believer stood up and spoke the truth. That's all it took. He didn't have a military, he didn't have a weapon, he didn't have anything. He just had to use whatever position Allah had given him to stand up and speak the truth. And this man, who we don't even know his name, has a speech that is 2-3 pages in the Quran. We're not going to get to it. But the fact that Allah is He values the believer who uses his position to stand up for the truth. People are in a position to stand up for the truth, and they don't use it. They stay quiet because they're afraid of the consequences. Can you imagine if this man keeps sitting down and doesn't say anything because he knows, look, if I open my mouth about this, I'm going to be killed. I'm going to die. This thought is going to cross his mind. This is, by the way, the worst consequence. If I speak up, maybe not only will I be killed, he's going after the enemy's children, he might go after my children. That man who's standing up might even say, I love my kids. I shouldn't stand up. I love my kids too much. And he still stood up. He still stood up. And I'm sharing this with you for one reason and one reason alone, because my time is up. I'm going to use this last minute, I'm going to skip around, and I'm going to go to the end of this story. To the very end of this story. And what Allah Azza wa Jal does, wallahi, it shakes you to your core. The story is over, and then in Surah Ghafir, Allah talks about Judgment Day. And not just any scene of Judgment Day. Not just any scene. Listen to this. إِذْ يَتَحَاجُّونَ فِي النَّارِ فَيَقُولُ الضُّعَفَاءُ لِلَّذِينَ اسْتَكْبَرُوا إِنَّا كُنَّا لَكُمْ تَبَعًا فَهَلْ أَنْتُمْ مُغْنُونَ عَنَّا نَصِيبًا مِنَ النَّارِ قَالَ الَّذِينَ اسْتَكْبَرُوا إِنَّا كُلٌّ فِيهَا إِنَّ اللَّهَ قَدْ حَكَمَ بَيْنَ الْعِبَادِ. Listen to this carefully. What am I trying to get across to you? When they are going to be debating with each other in the fire, there are people in Jahannam, Allahumma la taj'alna minhum. There are people in Jahannam that are having an argument among each other. Who's having an argument? Allah says the weak are having an argument with the people who used to have power. The weak, the oppressed, the people who were scared to speak up, the people who could have spoken up, but if they spoke up, there would have been consequences. The ones who stayed quiet, those are now speaking against those, to those who were in a position of power. By the way, both in the fire. Both in the fire. And they say, we used to follow you. Inna kunna lakum taba'an. We used to follow you. Could you help us out against this fire? And they say, no, everybody's in the fire. The real master has already made his decision. He's already made the decision. Even those kuffar say, now the Rabb has already, قَدْ حَكَمَ بَيْنَ الْعِبَادِ إِنَّ اللَّهَ قَدْ حَكَمَ بَيْنَ الْعِبَادِ. No doubt Allah has already made his decision between the slaves. What is he saying? What are these people saying? These people are saying, the only reason the weak are, why would you think the weak should be in hellfire? The weak are victims. Yes, they are victims. You know what their crime is? Not speaking the truth. You have no weapon in your hand. You're weak. You have no weapon. You have no military resources. You have no economic resources. You have no social resources. The one resource you have is your tongue that can speak the truth. That's it. That's it. And if you don't use that resource, then you are just as much a criminal. Because one believer standing up could have ended all the oppression. One believer speaking out. How many times do we think, we see something wrong, we don't say something, I might lose my job. I shouldn't say something. This man stood up against the worst odds. What do we have? What are we afraid of? Losing a job? Or, my friend might get upset? Or what are people going to say? Nobody's killing you, nobody's killing your children. And you and I are still spineless to speak the truth when the time comes. We have to, where do we stand? Where's the integrity of the Muslim? They see something wrong and they don't speak out. What are we afraid of and what are we not afraid of? If you're afraid of Fir'aun, you should be much more afraid of Allah. You should be much more afraid of Allah. And that's what he demonstrated. So the last thing I leave you with, and I told you last thing already, but still, I want to leave you on a positive note. What I want to share with you is this man who spoke up. Anybody with half a mind knows, after this guy is done with his speech, he's going to get killed. This general is not going to survive. There's no way. What does Allah say? فَوَقَاهُ اللَّهُ سَيِّئَاتِ مَا مَكَرُوا. Allah protected him from all the evils that they had planned. Allah protected him from all the evils that they had planned. وَحَاقَ بِآلِ فِرْعَوْنَ سُوءَ الْعَذَابِ. And the worst kind of punishment grabbed a hold of Fir'aun and his armies. The one you think will be killed is the only one saved, and the one you think will kill is the only one killed. Because now you're under Allah's protection. When you speak up, when you stand up only for Allah, then you have Allah's protection. You will lose every other protection. And you have to believe in Allah's protection to have the courage to stand up to begin with. And when you show Allah that courage, then forget it. Then you don't need any other security. Then Allah is your security. You can't have better security than that. And you have Allahul Musta'an. And you have Allah whose help is sought. May Allah Azza wa Jal give the Muslims the integrity, the courage to speak the truth wherever they may be. أَن نَقُولَ الْحَقِّ أَيْنَمَا كُنَّا لَا نَخَافُ فِي اللَّهِ لَوْمَةَ لَائِمٍ. That we're going to speak the truth wherever we are. And we will not be afraid of consequences. Understand the truth. Speak it articulately. Speak it intelligently. But never hide the truth. Never hide the truth. If you don't know enough, learn more so you can speak more intelligently about the truth. But nonetheless, the integrity of the Muslim will never be saved. And the ummah will remain in adhab. The ummah will remain in adhab if not enough of us speak up. If not enough of us open our mouth and say something and call for a change. May Allah Azza wa Jal change the horrible situation of this ummah and give the parents of those poor children relief and enter those children into Jannah and reunite those families in Jannah. And may Allah Azza wa Jal remove these shayateen from this ummah that have caused this kind of suffering and pain. Barakallahu li wa lakum fil Qur'an.